This car gives me a boner.
All right, well, behold my latest purchase. This is a 2000 Jaguar XJR. I've had a few Jags in the past. I had an XJ8 with a transmission that was limp mode and perpetually in fourth gear. It was very cheap. Long time ago, probably 7-8 years ago. Last year I had a Van Pla, which was the long wheelbase with the flip down tables in the back. The traditional XJ8 had a 4-liter, 290 horse, 290 torque, 4-valve per cylinder, dual overhead cam V8. The R, which this is, took that to the next level with an Eaton M112 supercharger, bringing power from 290 horse, 290 torque to 370 horse, 387 torque. At this car's debut as a model, as a V8 model, in 1998, it was the fastest production sedan that you could buy. With 0 to 60 in the low 5s and a quarter mile in the mid-ish to upper 13s and a top speed of 154, and that may be electronically limited. I can't verify for sure, but there's some notable differences. And I'll touch on those, and then I'll touch why this car's special. The regular XJ8s have a pretty much a garbage transmission, sealed for life, or better known as sealed for death. They fail. They always fail. They just fail. But the XJR, on the other hand, got a different transmission to deal with the extra power. And that was a Mercedes-sourced unit that was actually designed to withstand the power of the V12 and like the E55 AMG stuff, a lot of power. So this transmission will actually hold and perform with minimal issues or no issues at all, if maintained properly, and that's just like anything. So the reason why I think this car is spectacular is because it's basically what I would call one of the kings of depreciation, and I think what falls into that category most as far as brands is probably going to be Jag. Jag's up there. Range Rover and Maserati, I would say, is also up there. You can get a Quattroporte or a Quattroporte, depending on how you pronounce it, for pennies on the dollar relative to new, and the Gran Turismos are the same way, and it just seems to go that way. And I think a lot of it's the maintenance cost. You know, the real cost of these cars is the maintenance, and it becomes prohibitive. And you get the first owner, and he's got money, and he gets rid of it. And the second owner, he says, "Oh, gee, I want a fancy car," you know. Picks it up, and he can't maintain it, and it just continues to go down the line. Now, why this one's special is this is a relatively low ownership car. This specific example has almost 173,000 miles on it, but as you can see, you know, overall, it's aesthetically in quite good shape. I just bought this car about 4 days ago, over the Labor Day weekend. Couldn't help myself. But yeah, 172, almost 173,000 miles in this car. So I bought it from a gentleman who essentially flipped it or attempted to flip it. And I know that. It's fine. He purchased it from local lawyer. If you're from my area, Southwest Michigan, you may have heard of Fred Taylor. Friends don't let friends plead guilty. And so he's had a pretty successful ad campaign on the radio my entire life. I'm 39. And this was his car. So he bought this car 1 year old, is my understanding, in 2001. It was probably pretty expensive still at the time. You know, these stickered for about 70 grand in 2000, which is the equivalent of 125,000 in today's money in 2023. And that's why I say it's the king of depreciation. But being as that he bought it and had money, you know, the car was probably taking care of most of its life. Although I don't have a single service record, which may seem unnerving. However, this car was purchased for $4,500. And when I say, you know, in today's money it was 125 new, that's pretty bad. It's going for what? Quick math, like what, 2.8% of its original MSRP? It's probably worth more than I paid in parts. But the thing about cars like this, these depreciation kings, as I call them, are not so different than my Van Pla or a lot of the other, you know, the other Jags I've had, or, you know, there's a handful of cars that are pseudo-exotic stuff. The fact that this one held the fastest sedan record when it was new, even though it was only for a brief time, makes it pretty special to me. This car was quickly dethroned. 1998, this car debuted. 1999, the Mercedes E55 AMG essentially dethroned it. It was slightly faster and more towards the sport side, of tuning. Chassis-wise, suspension-wise. And in 2000, things really came to a halt with the BMW E39 M5, which we all know today. It is much more collectible than this car, but it set the pace for what was to be for the next several years and to this day. And that is basically luxury cars today are just four-door sports cars. They ride like bricks. They have hard seats. The primary focus of this car has never been anything other than luxury. It was luxury first from day one with an abundance of power. And so the reason why I think this car is significant is because I'm going to say it's probably about one of the last cars using that ideology. Some of the big Chrysler stuff and Lincoln stuff, Cadillac stuff from the 60s and 70s, big power. Caddy in its peak in an Eldorado, a 500 cubic inch Caddy was 400 horse, 550 torque, but it was still a luxury car first. And this car carries on that tradition. But again, kind of the end of the line. So what we have here is we've got the 4-liter Jaguar engine with the Eaton, the M112 blower on top. You've got your heat exchangers on each side, basically water to air intercoolers. To help it produce the additional power over the naturally aspirated model. And it is more than abundant power. I actually dragged this car, and I'll attach those at the end of the video. It managed a best 0 to 60 with 1 foot rollout of 5.37 seconds, and on an 87 degree day with a 3,000 foot DA, I still ran a 14 flat at 100.8 miles per hour. Now that's nothing today, but 4,100 pounds hustling in the year 2000 when a town car was a 17-second car. Yeah, it was a bruiser, man. It was an absolute bruiser. You've got the 18-inch wheels with 255 40 series tires, and it still rides like a cloud. This thing is 100% peak Jag, and it's it's an absolute depreciated masterpiece. And I can tell you, maintenance wise, everything's available. Some of it's tough, some of it's not, but I've done, I did an oil change on it, and I serviced the lifetime air filter. It's got a K&N, and I'll do the supercharger oil and a tranny service, and I'll keep driving it. I'll inspect hoses, and I'll see what I do with it. And a lot of people that know me, they know that I'm probably not going to keep this car forever, but with the ownership history being, the kind of local famous lawyer, Fred Taylor, it'll be a tough one to get rid of, because I kind of just like the idea of owning this car. Because in my younger years, I had some legal difficulties, and I wanted to enlist the services of Fred Taylor, and I called him, and $10,000, and I didn't have that money, so I ended up representing myself through some substance issues, drinking and driving, and I got my license back. It took some time, but now that I'm sober many years now, I don't drink any alcohol. So owning this car is almost kind of like a really ironic thing. Something about doing just a massive rolling burnout in this. It is incredibly satisfying. And when it comes down to it, for the money invested, my other car here, the SS1LE, the 2022, fast car, whatever, fun, trackable, monster, handles on rails, just a bargain car for what it's capable of. It doesn't evoke the emotion of something like this Jag. This car really makes you feel something when you drive it. You put on yacht rock radio, and you feel like a lawyer. You feel like a doctor. You feel like someone who, was pretty successful in the, the late 90s, early 2000s. And, the Camaro, it's whatever. It's fast. It's fun. It's pretty numb. This is a real enthusiast vehicle, I guess. It's something you can really take pride in, because there's not a lot of them around, and there certainly aren't many clean ones. So to find one like this, I think this is a really substantial car. Again, I think this is peak luxury, uncompromised luxury, peak performance sedan, peak elegance. You know, it's tasteful. It's not gaudy. It's subtle. You know, this was the fastest thing in its day, and there's really nothing outside to allude to that other than the sport wheels. You've got the mesh grille in front. They all had factory fogs just like this. And what do you get other than that? You've still got chrome trim. You know, you've still got everything standard XJ8. And you've just got this little hint on the back that lets the occasional guy who knows that this is an XJR. You come inside the, the cockpit here, and, well, the lighting isn't fantastic, I suppose, but XJR embossed into the steering wheel. And on the tachometer, you can see it reads specifically times 1,000 RPM, supercharged. Just to let you know, this is a special car. It's got a factory Alpine stereo with a subwoofer, and it's whatever for today. It's nothing fantastic at all. And probably not anything really better than my stock Camaro, Delco, whatever unit. But again, really special car, pretty powerful car. If you have the ability and you find one, do your research. These things can be maintained. If you've got basic mechanical abilities like me and a few friends, you can do everything you need to do with a car like this. And I tell you, you take it to a Cars and Coffee, it's very, very unlikely that there will be another. And fun for dollar, it's off the chart. It's a pretty special car. It's been well kept. It's hard to put a dollar amount on it. But I feel like, to me, the experience it gives, provided that it continues to operate functionally, fully, it's well worth the $4,500. You're talking about sub C4 money. I love C4s. This is cheaper, and I think it feels just a little more special. But again, that's really all in the car. It's just kind of an introduction, if anything, a video journal to myself someday when I don't own this car, so I can look back on it and remember, what it looked like, what it felt like, and probably be what convinces me to go out and find another after I foolishly sold this one. So, if you enjoy the video, give it a like or whatever. If you own an XJR, feel free to comment. And, if you know good parts, resources, anything like that, good places to find maintenance items, feel free to let me know. Because I'm still learning that stuff. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you watching, and, maybe I'll try to squeeze a little roll and burnout or something in. All right. Have fun.